And we're back again with Dave Chalker, designer of Thief's Market and Get Bit.
Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is...
Debilitate. To impair the strength of, enfeeble. Which is the word, I've never heard the word enfeeble before. And debilitate is one that I've heard many times, unlike a lot of the words we have here. But so what do you got for this?
So, well, first of all, you know the word enfeeble if you've played a lot of D&D because it gets
Oh,
used
really?
in spell names and stuff. But so this actually brought up something I've thought about game design wise for a long time, and so makes me think about drinking games, right?
Okay.
And the very specific thing with drinking games is that is the only thing I can think of where as you play, you get actually worse at playing. Not like the game is harder for you because the game puts obstacles in the way, you know, or changes the rules or whatever. It actually makes you worse at making decisions and being able to function.
That's really interesting. Is there anything in any of those games where it actually gets easier as it goes along?
Well, I think a lot of the like classic drinking game models is, you know, as game designers, we wouldn't do as much, which is like poor gets poorer kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where as you miss, that's when you take drinks, not like the guy who's winning takes the drinks.
Of course,
you know, it tends to be the person who's probably already kind of drunk, getting drunker and drunker, right? Because the point isn't to make a good game, it's to get people drunk, really.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to me to think about, you know, a mechanism by which whoever's in the lead, like, is actively made worse the more they play. So instead of, like, raising up the player behind, it actually, like, makes the person ahead less functional as they play.
I have one game where I've done that, which is my little game called Hot Dogs, which is just as silly as ever. It's inspired by the McDonald Land, or Let's Go to McDonald's game, where the whole idea is you're just stacking cards as fast as you can. It's just a speed-based, somebody's going to read off a recipe in whatever order they want, and then you have to get them in the correct order that's shown on the card that they slapped down, and slapped on top of that before anybody else. But the whole thing about it is you get a point by getting 2 wins in a row, and once you get 1 win, you get the impairment that's written on the hot dog card. So it might just be like you have to start with your back to the table or something along those lines.
Right.
But that was, at one point, it wasn't that, and it was like you got to give it to whoever you wanted, and then it was just that whole thing where, like, slowing down the leader is essential to stopping them from getting that second point.
Yeah, exactly. And it just doesn't feel fair in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of makes the game a foregone conclusion. Yeah, I mean, that's something that in, you know, I have a cooking game that I've been working on for a few years that's based on, like, cooking competition shows, especially Cutthroat Kitchen, which is all about, you know, them making dishes while getting sabotaged, like taking away all your knives, or one of my favorite just ones that works by itself was there was a guy who had to do all of his cooking while in a full set of armor.
Really?
So he's just like, like just clanking around the kitchen, this, like, you know, including like face mask and everything.
Is that like the challenge on it? Like, does everybody have to wear the suit of armor? I've never seen it. We watch Cupcake Wars is on nonstop in my house right now. So. Oh
yeah, also a good one. Yeah, Cutthroat Kitchen's like kind of the meaner version of all these, where you start out with a certain amount of money, like $25,000, and you know, they just bring these challenges up every round, and you bid on them, bidding your money. And, you know, every round they eliminate somebody, and the last person standing gets to keep whatever money they haven't bid on all the other challenges. So it's general, you know, some of the sabotages are, you know, you pick another person and it tends to be like the person who's ahead, or, you know, whatever kind of balancing factor, or, you know, there's a strong, like, tit for tat scenarios, like you sabotage me in the last round, I'm going to get you back kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's some that just sabotages everybody else, which then also paints a target on your back. So there's actually, like, there's bidding and also some prisoner's dilemma type stuff in there.
Yep.
But also it's just like they'll cook truly awful dishes, like, classically trained chefs who have to like tape a spatula to their hand while making a crepe on an upside down pan, and that kind of thing is just hilarious.
That's super entertaining. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so it's that kind of thing that I was emulating in tabletop game, also inspired by things like the dice game Escape. Have you played that? Escape the Curse of the Temple. Yeah, so some of my favorite things in that are like, you have to stand up while you have this curse going, or one of the ones from the expansions is also my favorite, where you're searching for the exit to the old temple, and somebody with a curse has to yell, "I found the exit," whenever they flip over a new tile.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't. So the first time I played, we played with those, and then every other time I played that, it was with my kids. So we played like a light family version where I was just kind of holding their hands through it.
Sure.
That's a really cool one. And we also have the zombie version. I don't even remember what it's called. Escape from the Zombies or whatever it is.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, which I didn't like as much, but there was a little more gameplay in there.
Yeah, my son saw it and like insisted on it, and I think it was at Gen Con and it was like $50 or something. And when I got home, I didn't get it because I just didn't have space or whatever, and it was like $13 on Amazon.
Yeah,
like you can't pass that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing, debilitating. To go back to that, it's like those are things that affect how you play, and debilitate you down to people who aren't doing as well. But it's still not quite the same as the drinking game setup, where you just are worse at whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think I'm trying to think of like the best, and as someone who doesn't drink, the person who's the best kind of drinking game, like a dexterity game, like to me that's like right up there. Like
yeah,
it can only get terribly worse as you go on.
Yeah, I can only think that probably there's only two types of drinking games, one of which basically is a dexterity game, and the other one is basically just random,
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much it. But, I guess there are probably people out there playing chess while, whenever you get a piece captured, you take a drink or something. But it's probably not as popular on college campuses,
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that's funny. It's like, but have you seen those guys that play chess in like New York and like on the street? Have you seen them where they like take your money away? It's just like a whole big scam, and you got to get those guys to take a drink, and then you can beat them.
Well, it did remind me. There is like a boxing chess kind of thing where they like go a few rounds in the boxing ring and then go back to chess. So they're like,
oh really?
Yeah, I remember reading about it. It's like really crazy fusion of things, but that's probably also a scenario where it becomes harder to think the more you've been like punched in the face,
Yeah. Have you ever read the story The Chocolate War or heard about that?
I don't think so.
It's like one of my favorite books of all time. It's Robert Cormier, and the whole story is about a Catholic school kid that's supposed to sell chocolates. And I went to Catholic school and we had to sell the chocolates every year. That was just the thing we did. You go door to door selling candy bars. But in the story, there's like a gang in the school, and they give everybody assignments. And someone's assignment is to unscrew all the chairs in the classroom. So when the teacher comes in, everything just starts to fall apart. But the one assignment they give to this kid, Jerry Renault, is you're going to refuse to sell the chocolates this year. So he refuses to sell them. It becomes a huge deal in the school when other people start to refuse to sell them, and the headmaster is telling the gangs, because they all know who's in and whatever. They tell him he's got to sell them. But anyway, so the whole thing ends, and not to spoil something that's been out for 35 years or whatever, with the school sponsors a boxing match between two kids, and it was to make up the money they lost from the chocolates. And what you would do is you would buy a certain punch, and it would say like Jerry right hook to, I forget the other guy, and to his face. And it was like this like sort of gamified boxing match, or it just was one move at a time where people just paid for them, they read them off, and they just beat each other. And it's funny because for personal reasons, it's the inspiration for my game that I've been working on for the Board Game of the Month called Banned Books, and that's I think that's the #1 banned book like in America. Or at least it was for years. Yeah, it's great though. It's so cool.
No idea. Wow, yeah. That boxing thing kind of strikes me as an interesting one too.
Yeah.
Like turning that into a game by itself.
Oh, for sure. That's really cool. Yeah, absolutely. So I had to mention this because you tweeted it earlier today, and it hit me in a spot where I love was you mentioned Doug Benson's "Here's a Game," where you just have to repeat back what I just said. Why is this hard? So Doug Benson's podcast is just one of my favorites, and
mine too.
It's super fun to like play along at home. He has really good guests, but that game is the best. And it's just he names a movie really slowly, and you have to name it back first.
and he's picking like more and more ridiculous titles, so people go down wrong paths while shouting, and it becomes sort of a game of comedic timing. But
yeah,
my favorite is like he's just explaining this to comedians, and they're just trying to make it harder than it actually is.
Yeah,
it's like. No, you just have to say the title. You literally just have to repeat back what I say to you
it's so
first.
Good.
Yeah, but people are like, "What? There's something else to it, right?"
Nope.
And people then just still get it wrong.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the best.
Yeah.
There was an episode where Rich Sommer was on there as a guest, and as everyone knows, he's a big board gamer. He brought his Pixel Lincoln card, which is a game that I designed. He had a card of himself, and that was his prize for the prize bag.
Nice.
And it was most of the cast of Silicon Valley was also on the episode, and all they did was make fun of him and Pixel Lincoln for the whole intro. And I was just like, this is like my dream come true. Like I'm right. Sitting here listening to them make fun of my game on the show. But like, I love that show. It's great. I wish like I could get out there and like go to an episode. It never comes to Philly or anything nearby. But yeah, I would love to go to that. It's so much fun.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I've been to podcast tapings like 2 or 3 times now, and it's really fun.
What have you been to?
Like 2 of the Doug Loves Movies.
Oh, you've
shows.
been to those ones?
Yeah.
Ah, that's so cool.
Yep.
Did you bring something for the whatever the name tags?
Yeah. I've never gotten chosen. Actually, yeah. What I usually do is I just bring the poster for the movie Dave, and then nobody cares about it.
Yeah, that's good. Unless there's a Dave on the show, then you'll get them.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this was fun, and I didn't get all your contact info last time, so I'm gonna have to edit that in somehow. Okay. But so tell everyone where they can find you and catch all your stuff.
Place where I post most things is at my Twitter account at Dave the Game. I run a website that I don't update very frequently, but generally try to post there when something big happens. It's critical-hits.com.
Which is another thing that I think I saw before we knew each other.
That probably sounds about right. I've been running that since like 2005 now.
Really?
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Long time now.
Cool. Well, thank you again, and we should do this again sometimes. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. Had a good time. Thanks.
Yep.